flash up for a tornado warning. This is going to go for, I believe, if we can, production switch over to the Max 2 computer. That's the one I'm working on over here. We have a tornado warning right here in this red box. This is going to go for parts of Butts County over into Spalding County, and then eventually over into, well, this is Butts County right here, Clayton County, and then eventually over into the edges of Jasper County and some areas of northeast Monroe County. So right now this is just in. We had a severe thunderstorm warning that did get issued right before this, and that's where we are seeing the potential rotation right there. This is not confirmed on the ground, but this is indicating some rotation where you're starting to see maybe a little bit of a notch and obviously some winds picking up going in the away direction from our Jeffersonville radar. This is just south of Locust Grove right now, just to the east over of Steele's Mill. And then this is going to continue its eastern push over to areas like Jenkinsburg, across Georgia Highway 16, and eventually Jackson right over here is kind of directly in the path of this right now. Once again, this is a tornado warned storm. We just got that data in right as we came up here on air. And let's take a look at, let's see if I can pull up the chat right here, try to pull up some of the data that we do have. Tornado rotation tighten on the southwest of Locust Grove. So yes, that's exactly where we're seeing it, just to the south of Locust Grove. These storms are moving roughly at about 30 miles per hour down towards the east, southeast right now. So they are going to be fairly quick moving. We'll draw out a timeline here in just 1 second. So this is going to impact areas right now within the warning: Jackson, Locust Grove, Flovilla, Jenkinsburg, McElhenney's Crossroads, Berner, McKibben, Indian Springs State Park. So all these areas up here as you make your way around I-75. That's actually, in fact, where we are seeing that potential rotation, just to the east of I-75, and now moving in to kind of the northern corner of what looks to be Butts County and then southern areas of Henry County. I do believe that is. That's right on the edge of our viewing area. And yes, continuing to see kind of the winds going one way, the winds going the other, and that's indicating rotation aloft, not necessarily confirmed on the ground. I will update you if we do get a report on that. Let me go back to this tornado warning here that they sent in the chat. Moving east at 45 miles per hour. So this has kind of picked up some steam in terms of how fast it is moving. Let's see if I can draw this right here all the way out east at about 45 miles per hour. Now, obviously not going along with this polygon box that they did draw, going more of an easterly direction, because that's kind of the way I see it going as of the last couple of scans since I've been watching this. So areas next impacted and kind of a timeline for it: 350 Jenkinsburg, 356 up in Jackson, and then 4 a.m. up in Stark. And along with that, just after 4 a.m., 402 in Flovilla. So if you know anyone that lives there, or you are watching if you live there, go ahead and make plans to just go into your tornado safe space, so an interior-most room, grab your mobile device and continue to tune in here with this coverage with your station up in Atlanta. This is kind of the dividing line between those two areas right here. So this is all within probably about the next 15-ish minutes. So 350 coming up on that Jenkinsburg. That's where kind of the immediate concern is associated with this tornado warned storm. And along with that, this is still a severe thunderstorm warning. So you have your fair share of gusty winds, whether they're rotating or they're more coming in that straight line direction. So that's what we're looking at right now. Plenty of lightning associated with this, and I will pop up the hail very quickly. And it's not showing as impressive hail signatures. However, this rotation did just kind of tighten up out of nowhere. But this warning does get extended into portions of Monroe County and over into Jasper County, just to the southwest of Monticello, including areas like Berner. And then we will go to Gladesville and then McElhenney's Crossroads right there, just as you're going down Highway 83, southwest of Monticello. Gladesville just shortly after that. Up into Cork, that's going to be up in Butts County. So going to kind of give a couple of local road names that we can. Obviously, this is still a little bit out of our viewing area, but some of you may be tuning in from Butts County, so that's where we're going to continue to give you some locations. Blount in northern Monroe County, just pretty close to, or getting east of I-75 as you go towards High Falls Road. We'll go ahead and take a look at that velocity, because that's really the best indication exactly where the spin is. And yes, continuing to see even this patch of yellow right here. So that's where you're getting winds that are a little gustier than the very bright reds that we see in nature. And obviously seeing these other colors, these darker kind of blacks and grays, kind of notch into it and push in to where these winds are going a different direction as opposed to these winds. And that's when you start to get that circulation, which is occurring aloft as of right now. So this is right around Jenkinsburg. If you do live up there along Highway 23, see if we can zoom in a little bit more maybe. It's hard to tell because these roads are outlined in black, and we do have a lot of black here on the radar scans. Highway 36 going towards the east, so Georgia Highway 36, and that's going to be just north of Jackson. So if you are in Jackson tuning in, go ahead, like I said, go to that tornado safe space. This isn't confirmed on the ground as of right now. This is rotation that we are picking up on our radar that is aloft, but it's better to be safe than sorry, so make plans to head kind of to your safe space right there, because this is moving at a pretty good clip. It's moving east-southeast at about 45 miles per hour, so it's going to cross probably Georgia Highway 36 here within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So that's a good enough warning at least for you to get up, get out of bed, get away from those windows, because even if it's rotating winds or it's just those straight line winds, they can blow things around very, very easily. And in fact, that gives me an idea. Let's just see kind of what the winds are reading right here. I'm wondering if this will pick up right there. This is the tornado warning. So about 60 mile per hour winds is what I'm picking up here on the radar. So that's radar indicated. Once again, still a little bit aloft, not necessarily at the surface, but I imagine the winds are just a little bit less down at the surface as opposed to aloft right there. So this is coming after we've gotten about two severe thunderstorm warnings. We have one to the north of this rotating cell right here, and then we do have a severe thunderstorm warning that extends a little bit farther out, but generally the same path of this tornado warning. This is going to go until 4:15 in the morning, so we still have about 23 minutes left on this warning. Once again, it did just get issued. We did just see that rotation tighten up virtually out of nowhere, and this does come at what we have, or the severe weather risk, as we were talking about. We were going to see a weakening trend. However, these areas where this tornado warned storm right now is still kind of on the edge of that level 2. We will continue to see this line weaken as it pushes closer and closer to central Georgia. However, right now, it doesn't look to be weakening, at least in this set location right here. So let's go ahead and take it over to this velocity once again, right there. So where you're seeing this yellow and where you're seeing kind of this gray color right in this vicinity is going to indicate the possible rotation. So that's actually where we're seeing something starting to spin up higher in the sky and moving very quickly just north of Jackson, but downtown Jackson going to be in the near vicinity of this. Like I said, you're still going to want to head into your tornado safe space. Many of you are probably getting awoken by those rumbles of thunder, probably hearing those gusty winds outside a bit, maybe some rain that is pelting your window. Get away from as many windows as you can, interior-most room, whether that's a closet, whether that's a bathroom, and just continue to ride this out. It's not a confirmed tornado, but it's better to be safe than sorry with these tornado-warned storms, as we've seen of very recently, but indicating this rotation and not really seeing any signs of it weakening so far. So other areas towards the east going to include Stark, Georgia, getting into Highway 23 just to the east of Jackson, Highway 16 like we were talking about, that's going eastward out of Jackson. So areas east of Jackson up in Butts County, you guys need to go ahead and make plans to head in to that safe spot that you do have. It does look north of Flo Villa, but like I said, it's always better safe than sorry. So go ahead, head to that tornado safe space that you do have. Let's see. It does look like we may actually be getting confirmation of a tornado here as of right now. I'm reading the National Weather Service chat. And right here, I think, is what they're talking about. We're seeing these patches of some yellow bunching up together. So when you kind of see colors that are out of the normal and bunched up together on this potential lofted debris. So this is detecting non-meteorological elements in the sky. So non-rain, or not rain, not wind, not anything of the hail nature. This is indicating possible debris that could be flying. And right now, continuing to see a lot of these light yellows pop up, which definitely isn't the worst that it can get. However, this is indicating possible debris that is a little bit lofted up into the sky. Like I said, this radar takes scans that are a little bit higher up than surface level, so this could be indicating a debris signature just to the east of Jenkinsburg along Highway 23, and then moving just north of Jackson, but very, very close to the downtown Jackson corridor. Highway 36 right here, that's going to be right after this crosses somewhere along Highway 23. And I'm wondering if I can get even more local than that. Not seeing any road names, really local road names on this. So hopefully this means it is going over in a virtually unpopulated area, just some heavily wooded areas, but still seeing that signature, and that could be some of our best indication that we do see something that is possibly on the ground. And that's what the National Weather Service is thinking too. They're monitoring this area right here where we do see kind of the bright yellows, and that's going to indicate your non-meteorological elements that can be a little bit lofted up into the air. So let's go back over to the actual tornado warned storm. Once again, going until 4:15, but this thing does not look like it's necessarily losing any steam per se. Well, now that I'm looking at the base velocity, we saw those yellow colors that are kind of fading out as of right now, but still indicating some potential rotation with this. This is still a fairly impressive signature in terms of winds going in different directions. And like I said, just north of downtown Jackson. So everyone in Jackson obviously probably already hearing it get rough. Like I was saying, tornado safe space, especially if this right now is continuing to be a potential confirmed tornado with that tornado debris signature. And I think that the National Weather Service is picking up on that because we just saw an extension of this warning. Another red box has popped up, and this is going to have a more easterly direction. So you see this new box where you kind of see those white highlights going on it. This is the newest warning that did just get issued. This going more easterly, so areas like Jackson, and then going over into northeast Butts County, Stark, Georgia, finds themselves really close to where this possible rotation is, and that's going to continue eastward along Highway 16, pretty parallel to Highway 16 in Butts County as you cross the county line over into Jasper County over here, Georgia Highway 221 over there in the west end of Jasper County. And this does get very close to the Monticello area at the very end of this tornado warning. So definitely going to want to continue to stay inside, continuing to get yourself away from windows, anything that debris can easily fly through, as we do have a little bit of flying lofted debris indicated right now. With it drifting a bit to the north, we got another tornado warning going out on the north side of the existing one. So when I was drawing that path, that cone earlier, obviously I took it a little bit north of that polygon. It looks like we have another warning, or no, I do believe some areas to the west just got trimmed out of this tornado warning. So continuing this warning, but kind of expanding the area that it could potentially be going. So other areas kind of on the southern end of this do include Flovilla, just to the southeast of Jackson, and I do believe this is McElhinney's Crossroads. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, but over here, as you cross the county line into Jasper County along Georgia Highway 83. Cork, Georgia, down in the southeastern portion of Butts County, finds themselves within this polygon. And then Gladesville over here along Highway 83 as well, just a little bit southwest of McElhinney's Crossroads. So right now we're still continuing to monitor this area right here, the potential rotation. When you get some colors that are differing in nature, and you can definitely see the difference in them, some of those bright reds, maybe some of these darker colors, the grays, the blacks, that's indicating winds going in different directions, and that's what we typically take a look at with the base velocity. I'm going to see if storm relative velocity can give me any of a better idea right there. Not looking as definitive as it did very recently ago, which is a good sign, but this is something that definitely is a little bit concerning up here with the potential lofted debris, and that could be indicating a confirmed tornado from all of this debris signature right here. Some of these light yellows that you do see just to the north and the northwest of Jackson right now. I do believe that maybe this might be moving a bit faster than what you're seeing in terms of those debris signatures and those possible rotations. Let's take a look at this. So there's a bunch of warnings just kind of put together in one spot. I would say right in the Jackson vicinity. Everyone in downtown Jackson, once again, continue to stay inside as we do have this possible rotation moving kind of eastward, maybe even a little bit up to the northeast towards Stark, Georgia. Stark, Georgia, definitely going to be there within the next couple of minutes. Go ahead, get in that safe spot. Make sure you're away from windows, bathroom, a closet, something that's interior most in your house, and continue to ride this out, continue to stay updated with this coverage until we can give you the all clear. But these tornado warned storms did kind of pop up just out of the blue, and they are continuing their northeasterly push. Given the latest guidance from this warning, we do see moving east at about 40 miles per hour. So maybe not quite as fast. However, this area right here, right north of Jackson, that light red area is where I'm going to pick up on with this. And then east at 40 miles per hour. Still a very good clip. So the only timestamp we do find is Stark at 4:04. Like I said, the next couple of minutes, it's about 4:01 going to 4:02 right now. You need to go ahead and get in that closet or get in that bathroom. But if it does continue to hold its rotation and its structure, what's dead east of that is going to be Monticello at the very edge of this tornado warn box right here. So if you do live in the Jasper County area, western Jasper County, the Monticello area, and you are getting woken up by these rumbles of thunder, maybe by your phone buzzing, go ahead and make plans to get in that tornado safe space as soon as you can. It's better to be earlier than later when it does come to these instances right here. So we do have these two tornado warn boxes, these two tornado warnings. So that's obviously going to go into areas of south and southwest Jasper County and up here into the southeastern corner of Butts County. I do believe it's still going to get very gusty. You're still going to have lots of heavy rain, but the main rotation that we are still monitoring is going to be up here to the north and northeast of Jackson right now. Not seeing any more updates besides that new warning that they did issue because it was drifting a little bit to the north. And again, it's going to be once again in this area right here. So just south or just kind of east of Highway 36 around the Stark area, really smack dab in between Stark and Jackson, Georgia, up in Butts County, which once again isn't necessarily our viewing area, but it is continuing its eastern push into our viewing area, getting into areas of Jasper County. And I don't know if anyone may be tuning in from these areas. So this is something we're going to continue to monitor as we do have a tornado warning that is creeping into our central Georgia area. And once again, this is all enveloped within a severe thunderstorm warning, this yellow box that you do see. So whether your winds are rotating, whether your winds are straight line, they are still going to be gusty and damaging. Radar indicated winds of about 60 miles per hour. Doesn't look like we have anything in the way of a hail signature necessarily anymore. That's going to be these two brown dots right here around Jackson. Not as much of a concern, maybe some pea-sized hail. The more immediate concern is obviously the tornado warning that we do have. So coming up on, was it 4:04? So right there, that timeline that we were talking about for Stark, Georgia, that's going to be just to the northeast of Jackson. Not seeing anything that gives us a good indication of this rotation on the reflectivity, but right here where you're continuing to see these gray shades and this bright red shade right here, this is obviously indicating some potential rotation, getting pretty close to the Stark area in northern or northeastern Butts County, northeast of Jackson. See if I can get even a little more local than this. Take it to the hail parameter because this gives me a little bit better of an indication. So I do believe right here is going to be Lake Jackson, right there on the line of Butts County on Jasper County. So if you live in the Lake Jackson area, make plans to go ahead and get in that tornado safe space like I've been telling folks in Stark, back into Jackson and other spots in Butts County. If this is Lake Jackson, I do believe, right here along Highway 221 right here in western Jasper County and eventually continuing eastward over close to the Monticello area. Need to find which parameter I have that gives me those local road names. So I'm not able to see that as of right now. This is Monticello, Minetta, Alcovey Shores. That's going to be pretty close to here. 221. Does this get any more local? Well, I'm not seeing too many of the local roads, but still, hopefully that's just an indication that we are continuing to see at least this go through some fairly unpopulated areas, but obviously downtown Jackson, do know that is one of the more populated areas up in Butts County. And right now, this is still looking like the area of concern. So kind of from the bottom of your screen, just to the east of Jackson, going along Highway 23, all the way up towards Stark. Specifically Stark up here, that's where it's looking like the more of the rotation and more of those winds going in different directions that we are continuing to see as of right now. I'm going to check the potential lofted debris again. Okay, so seeing the scattering of these colors as of right now, when you start to see these outlying colors, once again, colors that are kind of not looking like the normal. They're not looking like these pinks that you see on the left side of your screen. You're not seeing maybe some of those light shades of yellow. That's not really indicating anything, but it still very well could be. And we have seen that's guidance from the National Weather Service on that potential debris signature. And that could possibly be confirming a tornado. I imagine after all this is said and done, they may send a team out there, a survey team, to look at some of the damage. But once again, for Butts in Jasper County, this warning, or the first warning, is at least going to go until 4:15. I believe this top one still might be going until 4:15. We'll see what happens at 4:15, but either way, we'll stay on if the other one is going on until about 4:30. The rotation maybe not looking as impressive, but still a tornado-warned storm right now. Now it's kind of a little bit fuzzy, but still seeing these notches that are going a little bit inward. That can be indicating some potential rotation in our very northernmost counties. So Butts and Jasper County, Monticello, obviously on the edge of these tornado warnings. So once again, anyone that I'm naming, any of these roads that I'm naming, if you live very close by, go ahead and head to your tornado safe space. It's better to be safe than sorry, whether this is confirmed, whether this is not. Obviously, a tornado warning means that you have all the ingredients. It is happening. We're getting the indication of it happening aloft. It's just a matter if it has touched down at the surface or not, that we're still trying to actually confirm. However, I think we are going to fairly much treat this, given the debris signature we did see a little bit ago, that it was at one point touching the ground. Maybe not touching the ground necessarily anymore, but right now the rotation is going to be around Stark. So Stark up in northeastern Butts County, moving close to the Jasper and Butts County line right here along Highway 221, and that is going to continue its eastern push over into the western portions of Jasper County, west of Monticello, but we'll continue to look at maybe a few other local areas that we can see in this box. Paleto, up northwest of downtown Monticello, Georgia Highway 11 within this tornado warning. Highway 212, that goes just to the east off of Highway 221, Highway 16. So all of these main highways that go into the downtown Monticello area. You live off any of those, you live in any neighborhoods, any of those roads in western Jasper County, you need to heed my advice and go into your tornado safe space for right now. Try to stay away from those windows. Once again, interior bathrooms, interior closets, whatever you can get into. Kind of avoid being from the first line of defense, which is going to be those exterior walls and obviously windows. Glass can break very easily if you have things like flying branches all around. They can easily break anything in the way of glass. They can even puncture some of those exterior walls. You want to put as many lines of defense as you can in between yourself and in between what's going on outside. It has weakened and become broader at the surface, though we are still watching the area just north of Flovilla, is the guidance the National Weather Service is giving. So right here, kind of where this arrow is pointing. It did kind of look like we maybe saw some darker colors pushing into this area and seeing this big blob of dark or light red, just to the northeast of Flovilla. So this would be a little bit farther south of what we were originally monitoring. So it could be indicating two potential areas of rotation within kind of this cluster. And we have seen another tornado warning issued. It's looking more robust at the higher radar scans there. So now this new tornado warning, going to go for Monticello and Hillsborough. Monticello does find itself within this warning as of right now. And I'm wondering actually, right? So this is where you're seeing the color switch right here. We're picking up the Peachtree City radar originally, and then as we creep further south, we're picking up the Jeffersonville radar. So that's why the colors are changing. You're seeing more greens right here. Not seeing anything, but these are on the outer edges of our Jeffersonville radar, so the resolution is a bit better when we pick up the Peachtree City radar, and that's obviously going to show those winds blowing away from Peachtree City, but blowing towards the Jeffersonville radar. So Monticello does find itself within this. Still, Georgia Highway 16 west of Monticello. I believe this is Highway 83 right here going north into downtown Monticello. Downtown Monticello itself, down in Jasper County. McElhenney's Crossroads, just along Highway 83, still within this polygon. And then some new areas that are on the far eastern side of this new tornado warning, Goolsby and Adgateville along Highway 11, a little bit east of Highway 11 for Goolsby. Still kind of at the tail end of this as of right now. So I'm going to pick up this new area that we're kind of monitoring right here. And we are looking at least the hail size to go down. So that's one good thing to see, but obviously that's not really the main concern with this. Monticello, Flovilla, McElhenney's Crossroads, Indian Springs State Park, Adgateville, and Hillsborough, all within this new tornado warning polygon. Okay, so moving east at 30 miles per hour. Moving a bit slower, but still not a sign that things are continuing to weaken necessarily. Some local areas, we do have McElhenney's Crossroads 424, and then Minetta at 428. So that's coming up in a little over 10 minutes for both, 10 to 15 minutes. So consider that a good ample warning time right there if you do live in those areas. But obviously Monticello kind of north of Minetta and McElhenney's Crossroads, kind of right smack dab in the cross section of virtually all of these warnings right now. Monticello, you're still going to want to head into your tornado safe space as well, as we still do have this warned storm that is going on. And a little bit to the east, southeastward of what we are continuing to monitor with this entire line of showers, thunderstorms, whatever they may be. We were expecting a little more weakening. However, we were saying last night that we probably would see this line hold together a little bit better than what the models were resolving. And that looks to be exactly kind of what's happening right now, especially with these tornado warnings that they are just continuing to kind of spit out all over the place. So there's probably about 3, maybe even 4 warnings right now, kind of losing count. That's all monitoring this potential area of rotation where the black and kind of these light reds are going up against each other. But what I am seeing as of right now, it does look like it is broadening. So when we say broadening, that's going to be kind of an indication of some weakening associated with this. Hopefully, fingers crossed, but still can't let our guard down just now. As long as these tornado warnings are still issued, you still need to be in your tornado safe space. Once they are issued, once they are trimmed back, I imagine the left side of your screen is going to get trimmed out of these warnings fairly soon. And once that happens, you were looking at least in the all clear of these tornado warnings. However, still some strong thunderstorms. Definitely don't need to be heading outside whatsoever to try to get a peek of this. It's nighttime. There's going to be a lot of rain within this, so more than likely anything that is happening is going to be very rain wrapped in nature. Still not getting the best indication of possible rotation right up here, but obviously we'll go over to the potential lofted debris, where I'm still not picking up on too much. These areas up to the top where you are seeing some yellow, not looking like definitive outliers to me. These couple of pixels right here could possibly be, because these yellows are a little bit brighter in nature, just crossing the county line from Butts County over into Jasper County right here, north of Georgia Highway 16. And then obviously continuing to go eastward closer towards the Monticello area. So let's go back to our live radar, pick up on anything in the way of these newer warnings. Pause it right there. Take away the clouds, anything unnecessary, so we can continue to get a better view of this. If we go down to, actually, I want to take away the lightning real quick. Sometimes when you look at this reflectivity, if you can pick up on some rotation, some areas, those going inward, what we call inflow notches, you can pick up on the reflectivity sometimes when that is happening. But if something is very rain wrapped like it is right now, you're not going to be able to really get a good picture of it. So we can see plenty of heavy rain surrounding any areas of possible rotation aloft. And mainly these areas right here on the county line of Butts and Jasper County are going to be of the concern. And that's really going to stretch kind of from the northern extent of Lake Jackson, I do believe, all the way down close to where Butts County gets close to Monroe and Jones counties. But obviously those areas not within anything besides a severe thunderstorm warning as of right now. Okay, so we did just get lots of those boxes disappear. A bee just flew in my face. So I'm wondering if they just canceled all of these. The Butts County EMA director did send a message, which is a good sign of good news. Heavy rain and winds in Jackson, but no damage reports to 911 center as of this time. That's always a good thing to hear from our local EMA directors. They definitely give us kind of eyes on the ground about what's actually happening in real time. But it does look like most of these tornado warnings did expire. It is 4:15 now, just noting the time right there. So all those severe thunderstorm warnings, all of those tornado warnings, besides this latest issued one right here that we were talking about just northeast of Flovilla, now crossing the county line from Butts County into Jasper County. I'm not seeing any definitive signs of rotation anymore, but again, this warning does go for about another 30 minutes. If the rotation really disappears, then we will see all of this kind of expire, probably prematurely, which would be a good thing, but still areas in the southern half of Jasper County. So a little bit north of Monticello all the way down in Jasper County, you're definitely still going to want to remain inside and continue to stay updated, because we can see rotation spin back up in the blink of an eye even after it does dissipate, but not seeing the definitive rotation that we were when we first came on air, which is always a good sign. The area that I'm probably most closely looking at, and it does look a lot brighter here on my computer screen as opposed to y'all's, but right here maybe where we're seeing some of the darker black come in contact with some of that very bright red. So this is to the northwest of McElhenney's Crossroads. So if you live along Highway 16, Highway 83, and in the downtown Monticello area, even if that means you're about 10 miles away from town in the southern end, you still need to go ahead and remain inside. Like I said, continue to go to the interior rooms where you can shield yourself with as many exterior layers of walls as you can, because if there is definitive rotation, that's obviously very gusty winds that can take anything outside, whether it's patio furniture, whether it's branches, that can make them act as flying projectiles, and obviously those can crash into windows and exterior walls very easily if they are flying at a good enough speed. So yes, this is continuing to see the area that we are monitoring right now. So if I move it over a little bit to the right of the screen, then we start picking up our Jeffersonville radar, but still holding on to Peachtree City right here, where I think things are a little bit more definitive. This is all still very broad. This shade of this kind of light red getting into a pinkish color, and then getting over into the top half of this where we see some of the darker reds, maybe getting into a little bit of a black color. This is all very broad as of right now. North of McElhenney's Crossroads, still close enough to where you still need to be inside. Adgateville, just down to the south and the southeast of this, still within this tornado warning box. Monticello, of course, up in Jasper County. And then Smithboro on the eastern half of Jasper County, still a little bit away from these areas. However, this is going to continue its east and northeastern push. And if this does continue to hold some kind of structure, what's next is going to be Putnam County. Not in a tornado warning right now, but just want to throw it on your radar, especially if a lot of this thunder and a lot of that heavy rain is continuing to wake you up in the middle of the night. Willard, Note, Stanfordville, just to the due east of this polygon, and that's the direction that this polygon continues to move. But also not to discount these areas down in southern Jasper County, Hillsboro and Gladesville. Gladesville just to the south and the southwest of this warning box. Just continue to play it safe for the next couple of minutes in those areas. Hillsboro is still on the southern end of this box. While it does look like this is moving more towards the east and the northeast, you are still within this tornado warning, so treat it as such until this warning is allowed to expire. So they are going to continue this tornado warning. We did just see that. When did they send this message? I believe it was 4:17. So that was about 2.5 minutes ago. Tornado warning will continue. I wonder if they've given an updated speed on it. Still east at about 30 miles per hour. Located over McElhenney's Crossroads or near Monticello, moving east at 30 miles per hour. And I still think it's mainly this area. This is very broad, so it does make me think that we are continuing to see some weakening, some disorganization with this, but still very close to the downtown Monticello corridor, Highway 11, Highway what is this? It's getting blocked by the label, 83. And then this looks like some sort of bypass right here along the southern half of Monticello, Highway 380. So those are all going to be state highways, State Highway 83, State Highway 11, and State Highway 380, all really close to the southern half of Monticello, in between areas like Monticello, McElhaney's Crossroads, and in between Monticello and Adgateville in southern Jasper County. And then if this is continuing to hold structure, going up towards the Smithboro area and eventually Highway 212. So we're hearing our beeper. That is another separate severe thunderstorm warning. So Hancock County, Lake Oconee areas, a little bit east of Lake Oconee, but this severe thunderstorm warning we're not going to spend terribly much time on because it looks like the bulk of it is moving out of central Georgia. But Hancock County, the north and northeast portion, just northeast of Sparta around the Mayfield area, heavy rain, probably definitely some hail within this, and this severe thunderstorm warning extends over into areas like Warren County, Tolliver County, and eventually Glasscock County. But the bulk of it does look to be moving out of the Hancock County area. Let's just take a quick look at this. There looks to be a bit of a hail signature on the northern side of Hancock County around Powellton, and that's going to continue to push over into Warren County over towards the east. And then let's take a look at this velocity. I want to make sure that there's nothing indicating rotation, and I'm not seeing anything like that. This just looks like a strong bowing segment, something we talked about a lot this past weekend. When you see kind of this bowing out, it looks like a bow with a bow and arrow right there. That's going to indicate definitely your fair share of gusty winds. So there are a lot of gusty winds about to enter the Mayfield area, right on the county line of Hancock County and Warren County. So go ahead and make plans to continue to stay indoors. Things probably about to get pretty messy outside. However, we're not seeing any indications of anything besides a severe thunderstorm warning with this up in north and northeastern Hancock County along Highway 22. Powellton, that's where we see that hail signature just north of, oh, it's not on the screen. We got the banner blocking it. Culverton, so that's going to be along Highway 16 right there and eventually making its way towards Jewell as you cross the county line over into Warren County, Beale Springs, Norris, and then Warrenton. You guys are going to see the brunt of the effects as we get closer and closer, or that line gets closer and closer to you. But back to the immediate concern, which is going to be this tornado warned storm that we still have in place until 4:45 this morning. So still a little over 20 minutes and some change on this warning. Okay, just kind of blending in with some of the red colors right there. I was about to say maybe the tornado warning did go away already. And it's not too definitive right now as we get our scans from the Jeffersonville radar. Maybe a bit of an inflow right here, but still we need to see a lot tighter colors in order for this to indicate some really good, some really tight rotation. That's going to be a lot of your light green colors and even getting into some light blue. That's what we typically see on our base velocity map that we're looking at right now. And when you do see winds maybe that are going to be gray, maybe some light blue bunching up against it, that's actually going to be pretty definitive of some rotation. Let's see. We have our Putnam County EMA director asking some questions as well about if this warning is going to continue into Putnam County. We do have a report of one tree down so far on Amelia Road at Apple Road. That's over in Spalding County. So any of you by the Griffin area, some reports of some trees down, which, like I was continuing to say earlier, it doesn't matter if these winds are rotating, it doesn't matter if they're straight line winds. They're still going to be gusty and strong enough to contribute to downing trees, which can also down power lines and such, especially if you get a lot of heavy rain that saturates that soil very, very quickly. That's going to make a lot of trees more prone to being blown over, which is what we typically see during these severe weather events. The dumping a lot of rain, loosening up that soil, and making the trees a lot more susceptible to being blown over, which can damage homes, which can damage any pieces of properties, sheds and such, which are also prone to being blown around when you have gusty enough winds as well. I'm going to go back to this. This is kind of the tail end of where we can get readings from the Peachtree City radar, which I am a little bit more prone to believing is showing a bit of a clearer image, but we did just get an update right there. Looks like the tornado warning was allowed to expire. Okay, come on. Agree with me right here, computer. So we're not seeing that red polygon anymore up in areas of Butts County into Jasper County. I guess it was more up here, but still lots and lots of pockets of heavy rain, especially around the Hillsborough area. Your scattered lightning strikes downtown Monticello, definitely hearing those rumbles of thunder as well. It does look like the tornado warning has been allowed to expire. The storm has become much more disorganized, and we are not planning to issue a tornado warning in Putnam. We will be canceling the tornado warning given the weakening of the storm as it does stand right now. So obviously a good sign to continue to see this warning go away, but still lots of strong thunderstorms that are being indicated on our radar, especially now moving into areas like Lamar County, around Barnesville. We have this western edge of this line creeping into Upson County, so going to get close to Thomaston pretty soon. Areas in northern Monroe County, probably hearing the rumbles of thunder in downtown Juliet, Lake Juliet, Berner, High Falls, all these northernmost areas in Monroe County, some strong thunderstorms. And then we are continuing to see this line maybe creep in the northern half of Jones County, pretty close to the Round Oak area, Putnam County. Plenty of scattered rain, whether it's of the light nature, whether it's of the heavier nature. Lake Oconee still receiving some rain. Most of this north of Baldwin County and Lake Sinclair as of right now. But this is the one warning that we still do have left. And it looks like the bulk of it, these very dark colors that you're seeing, some shades of pink, some shades of maroon, some dark red, that's moving out towards Warren County now, towards the east. This is going to expire at 5 a.m. I do imagine we'll get Hancock County trimmed out of this at least severe thunderstorm warning, but there are still plenty of patches of some red, some dark reds to the north of Sparta. So that's areas like Powellton, Culverton, and then I'll move over this way, Mayfield on the county line of Warren County and Hancock counties over towards Howell Grove. This is going to be off Highway 77 in more western Hancock County. Not necessarily the heaviest rain, but still some steady rainfall, probably your fair share of some gusty winds in nature. I'm going to take it over to the base velocity. Yeah, that is just a prime example right there of number one, kind of a bowing segment, but also now that I'm getting a look at this, this is moving over towards the Warrenton area, just south of Norwood, maybe a little bit of an inflow right there. Seeing these winds in red go a different direction from these winds that are in the gray and the blacks. So we'll continue to see what the National Weather Service does with that. Obviously, once you get over into Warren County, your Augusta counties or your Augusta news stations are going to pick up a lot of those warnings. So as this does continue farther to the east and we get Hancock County trimmed out of this, we're going to turn more of our focus back to what's going on here in central Georgia, as this line is continuing to hold together fairly well. However, there does look to be a good amount of disorganization over here on the western edge of the line. We were talking about these tornado warnings and how fast the storms were moving, at what speed, what direction. Most of them were going to the east. So the front is driving all of this rain that we've been talking about for the last 2 days, but the storms themselves have more of an easterly motion. Obviously, we're going to kind of get a cross section of that. So we need to monitor what's going on to the west, because as the front pushes the line farther to the south, everything to the west will kind of move over towards the east. So our western counties would maybe start to see some of the brunt of the impact of some strong to maybe even possibly severe storms. Right now, only one lone severe storm does stand. It is good to see that disorganization with that tornado warned storm over into Butts County and Jasper County. Thankfully, it's not being continued into Putnam County. A lot of the EMA directors sending many messages up there, Spalding County, Butts County, up into Jasper and Putnam counties. We do appreciate them because they are kind of, like I said, our feet on the ground and our eyes in the sky. They give us those real-time reports, and if there's anything in the way of damage, we want you to know where it's located, where that is in vicinity to you, maybe relative to you, kind of give you an idea of what's going on. Obviously, we can show you what's going on with the radar. We can give you values. We can give you all of these warnings that you need to know, but giving you a real-time and kind of something to put in perspective with definitely does go a long way. So we definitely do appreciate our local EMA directors. Still seeing this classic bowing out right here. This is definitely looking like a jolt of winds that are just kind of bowing out like a bow and arrow, like I was talking about. And these winds can get up to 60, maybe even 70 miles per hour at times. If you remember this past Sunday, we saw that bowing segment go through areas like Peach County, Houston County, and the winds were crazy for about 5 to 10 minutes. But after that heaviest batch of that dark red and that pink does move through your area, then it does continue to get a little less gusty, but there's still plenty of heavy rain and some scattered flashes of lightning. That's more of your run-of-the-mill thunderstorm, however, as opposed to the brunt of this, which does get above severe criteria. It looks like they did continue another warning over to the east. That's heading towards the Augusta area, more towards the I-20 corridor. I'm waiting to see when they trim this Hancock County warning off. However, what I want to turn my attention to is a little bit of everything going on over to the west and the northwest here in central Georgia. After we get that warning trimmed off, we'll kind of go into what we are expecting for the remainder of the night. Number one, just what I'm seeing right here, there's not as much lightning over on this western side of the line. That's always a good sign, and it's always something that we can kind of compare to the intensity of a storm. Now, we do see heavy rainfall rates. You're getting your dark reds that you typically do in your general thunderstorms, but when the lightning starts to bunch together in very localized areas, that's where you get these more severe thunderstorms. That's where you can pick up on possible rotation, perhaps, that we did see up in Butts and Jasper County. But we are continuing to watch this line move farther down towards the south. The motion of everything in this line is generally going to be over towards the east, towards the northeast. But there is scattering of lightning, some pockets of some heavy rain, and I'm sure some gusty winds along with that going to continue to push through. But hopefully we can get some breaks in this line, like the models were indicating as of yesterday. This is holding together a lot better than what the models have originally said, and that's why we weren't too keen to believe them. They haven't been doing the best job lately. That's why we were continuing to tell you we could see a couple severe thunderstorm warnings. Definitely weren't thinking about the tornado potential necessarily in our northernmost counties. That was definitely farther up to the north, but it goes to show you that obviously these risks that we have, the weather doesn't obey those boundaries whatsoever. So it's always best to be on guard when we do tell you about these severe weather events and continue to be very diligent to what's going on and take them very seriously. So severe thunderstorm warning still going until 5 a.m. That's about 28 more minutes. It's more so for Warren County and into areas of Glasscock County. Eventually could be making its way farther over to the east, but it does look like maybe more of an easterly motion to other areas closer to Augusta right now. I would say that the heaviest impacts are more than likely out of Hancock County. Like I said, still some patches of some heavy rainfall, especially around Mayfield, up into Powellton, an area that we were looking at in the northern edge of the county as you go up Highway 22. Still a lot more scattered in nature, but lighter, steadier rain over here towards the west of Hancock County around Howell Grove, Culverton, just outside of downtown Sparta. Those areas still seeing some patches of some heavy rain, your scattered flashes of lightning. It does look like the heaviest impacts are at least out of Hancock County as it does stand right now. And what's in store for after? Some steadier and some lighter rain, and still going to see your scattered flashes of lightning here and there. It may wake you up just a little bit, but it does look like the heaviest impacts are moving out of the northern edge of Hancock County. Southern areas, which do include Lake Sinclair down in the southwest, getting on to Linton, close to Washington County. That would be getting close to Baldwin County. You guys are still going to see your heavier impacts in the form of some strong, maybe severe thunderstorms. We're still looking at this line to continue to progress down towards the south, and obviously we'll be keeping you updated on it all morning long, but I'm still waiting for that official trimming of Hancock County out of this severe thunderstorm warning. They may be waiting a little bit just because this is still some heavy rain, and this is something they want people to be aware of while the warning is still lasting. We are getting a typing notification from the National Weather Service, so let's see if he's going to talk about that. Other than that, I'm just going to take it over to base velocity. Don't want to let my guard down for any areas of potential rotation again, because that definitely was a bit of a surprise. However, I'm glad that we hopped on air right exactly when that warning did get issued. So areas in Butts and Jasper County not getting too many reports of damage as of right now. That's always a good sign, even though we did see that PDS, that potential debris signature associated with that tornado warning. Wasn't anything for certain. It was just something that looked a little bit out of the ordinary. So whenever you see something that doesn't look necessarily too normal, it's better safe than to be sorry. And anytime you have a tornado warned storm, it's best to be inside, best to be in an interior-most room as much as you can. Nothing indicating any rotation on either radar up to the north and the northwest of us. So like I say, that's always a good sign. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning out on Warren County, so they're talking about that warning we were just talking about in Hancock County. That area is tough for us to get a good look at the low levels of the radar. but the decreased reflectivity on the backside of the storm says that it can be producing some strong and some gusty winds. Yeah, I would definitely buy that, as we're getting the image of that bowing segment right now, and that's obviously indicating some pretty gusty winds. Not sure if the radar is going to really necessarily pick up on how gusty those winds are. It's not looking terribly impressive. If these reds were a lot lighter and we were starting to get maybe some borderline yellow and pink colors, that would definitely be a good signature that we could grab a pixel and maybe give you a good indication of. But this is pretty far away from our radar as it does currently stand. See if we can zoom in on some of these pixels here just south of Powellton that are fairly bright. And see what it says here off screen. 36 miles per hour, so not indicating severe winds by any means. But like I said, the brunt of it and the heaviest impacts do look like they've kind of moved out of Hancock County for now. They were just in the initial side of that warning, so typically when you get these warnings issued, they trim areas out towards the west, areas that have already seen the brunt of the impacts, and now that segment kind of moving out of Warrenton. I mean, really just a fairly quick mover over to the east, areas like Deering, Appling, getting closer to Augusta, just south of the I-20 corridor. So if you were waking up early, you had plans to maybe go to Augusta early this morning, you had to go there early for work or something, definitely avoid driving for another 30 minutes or so. Allow for this storm to continue to move out of the picture. So by the time you are getting up and you are getting on the road, you're going on I-20 with no trouble whatsoever, just besides some rain and not these heavy thunderstorm impacts that definitely make it very, very difficult to drive through, to say the least. Right now, just watching what's going on over here, just around Upson County up into Lamar County. Not seeing anything too concerning as of right now, just really some patchy areas of heavy precipitation, which could indicate maybe some hail signatures up in Lamar County. Not seeing anything, so that's always a good sign. We do have a little bit of a pea-sized hail signature, maybe not even that much, just northwest of Round Oak, up in northern Jones County, where Jones does come into contact with Jasper County. That's the county line right there, and that's going to continue to move towards the east. So kind of along Highway 11, maybe getting into Round Oak, things probably going to get fairly messy in the Round Oak area. Probably already starting to hear the rain in northern Jones County, And then along the county line of Jones and Monroe counties, Lake Juliet down there just to the south. Forsyth starting to hear some rain, probably pelting on your window. Still not seeing any updates in terms of anything new in the severe weather department. I would imagine that this will be getting trimmed off fairly soon. Once again, I do think the severe thunderstorm risk is over in Hancock County, but going to wait until this area is at least trimmed out of it officially. Probably going to stay on here for about 5 to 10 minutes after, kind of tell you what's in store for the rest of the day. We are getting actually very close to the 5 a.m. hour, so the morning show will be starting fairly soon, and we'll be keeping you up to date with any live severe warnings that do happen. If not, it's just going to be kind of your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms. Obviously, you'll have your gusty winds, you'll have rain hitting your window, you'll hear rumbles of thunder. That I apologize, they are going to wake you up more than likely, but still, nothing that is looking severe as of what we did just have in the last hour in terms of the tornado warnings and also in terms of the severe thunderstorm warnings, which the bulk of look to continue to be moving over towards the east out of central Georgia. Still patches of heavy rain that you will get with your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms along the Sparta area, northern Hancock County, patches of it also in Putnam County. Not necessarily as widespread, even some areas where the rain does get a lot lighter in nature, especially up near Lake Oconee along the Greene County line. Stanfordville, Monticello, really seeing the intensification of heavy rain and a bit of a hail signature moving very close to Round Oak. So things are about to get a little bit rowdy in Round Oak and northern Jones County. Still only indicating hail about dime size, maybe pea-sized at that, 0.3 of an inch in diameter. We need some hail signatures that are getting close to 1 inch in diameter for it to be classified as a severe thunderstorm for hail. However, hail is not really one of the main concerns that we do have in terms of hazards and impacts with these severe thunderstorms, but there definitely can be our fair share of small hail that we've been kind of highlighting in our outlooks that we've been showing over the last couple of days. Something that we definitely want you to continue to stay updated with and know before it does happen. This line does look a lot more less impressive as you continue to go westward back over into Alabama. Nothing that looks too intense in nature besides maybe some isolated clumpings of lightning like up here in northwest Upson County. You're going to have your heavy precipitation with that, but still don't think you'll get the winds or the hail parameters in order for it to classify as a severe thunderstorm warning. We could have a couple special weather statements, which are going to be your strong thunderstorms just below severe criteria. So you don't quite have the winds that are gusting up to 58 miles per hour or greater, which is one of the criteria that you do need for a severe thunderstorm warning, or you don't quite have the hail that is 1 inch in diameter or greater, which is the other criteria for a severe thunderstorm warning. If you have either or, that's when we start to see those severe thunderstorm warnings, which I do imagine this one over here into Hancock and Warren County definitely had its fair share of gusty winds above 60 miles per hour. So this tail end right here, this little corner is still in Hancock County right now associated with this severe thunderstorm warning, just south of Mayfield, the Jewel area right on the county line of Hancock and Warren County along Highway 16. Once again, I think the heaviest impacts are out of your area. They did just make that trim back for at least northeastern Hancock County, areas like Mayfield up to Powellton, as this line continues to move over towards the east, pretty parallel to I-20. So east of Sparta, still some heavy rain, but honestly some patches of rain in downtown Sparta that are a little bit heavier than what we're seeing over to the east still in that warning. So I think they're just kind of making up-to-date changes as they go. So eventually all of Hancock County will be excluded out of this severe thunderstorm warning, and still not even seeing too definitive hail with this line as it's moving just to the east, southeast of Warrenton right there. Still about pea to dime sized hail. Looks like that signature disappeared just around Round Oak, so that's always a good sign. And then we'll take it over to the west because hail cores are indicating some heavy rainfall rates. Not seeing anything over into Upson County as it does currently stand. So this line is now more so just really looking like your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor that possible rotation that can sprout virtually out of nowhere like Butts and Jasper County. And if that is to happen, we'll already be on air. We'll already be ready for the morning show. So you can tune into 13 WMAZ. We obviously go on air for any kind of tornado warning whatsoever. Not typically cutting into air for these severe thunderstorm warnings, but it's the middle of the night. Wanted to keep you up to date about anything that was waking you up and concerning you. However, as we do continue throughout the rest of the night, we are looking at this line to continue to push down to the south. So it does look like areas to the south of this line, including Macon, Warner Robins, Butler, Sandersville, Milledgeville, you will continue to see at least something in the form of a steady to a heavy shower. It may be of this thunderstorm criteria as we continue to see this line holding together pretty good, but it's not looking as impressive over to the west like I was saying. Again, these storms are going to have an easterly motion like we see with this severe thunderstorm warning moving through Warrenton right now. So the storms are going to move more so west to east, but the front itself is going to push everything down towards the south into central Georgia. As this continues to happen, everything that we've been given the guidance with severe weather outlooks, with our models, is continuing to indicate some weakening. As you do see, we have this day one storm outlook in these areas down to the south that I did just mention in the green color, still in a level 1 out of 5 risk, which obviously isn't as high as the level 2 that we saw up here to the northwest of us, but it is still a severe weather risk. Damaging winds and small hail are going to be the main potential threats, but obviously just from what we saw to the northwest of us, might have to go pop up a brief tornado or at least a tornado warning on there as well. Even though the confidence is fairly low, it still can happen. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you're in a 1 or it doesn't matter if you're in a level 3. That's just kind of showing you the confidence in those severe weather impacts. So they are getting less and less confident as this line does continue to progress to the south. But as you can see, there was a level 3 up in the northwest corner of the state of Georgia, level 2 down around the metro Atlanta area, and decreasing as you go into central Georgia. So this is indicating a weakening trend as the line pushes through during a cooler time of the day. There's not as much instability to work with, which is a prime ingredient that severe weather needs to keep going. However, there is still a good amount of ingredients there that have sprouted some warnings here in the early morning and overnight hours. As we go into the later morning hours, I'll show you the rough timing of it. So don't really pay attention to the breaks in the line that FutureView necessarily has. This is a little bit better. This is the newest future view run, but obviously this line still goes to the west over out into Alabama. It is continuing all the way to the east along Augusta, so not quite as broken in nature, but still going to make its progression all the way through central Georgia. And again, having more of an easterly direction, I think it's still going to hold together a little more structure than what future view has. So maybe moving into areas like Milledgeville here in the next 30 minutes to an hour. By the time we get to 6 a.m., areas like Washington County, Wilkinson County, over into Twiggs, maybe Bibb County, over into areas of Crawford and Taylor County. Probably between 6 and 7 a.m., making its way to Warner Robins, down into the Perry area, Montezuma, Cochran, maybe northern Lawrence County, close to Dublin. And then by the time we go into the later morning hours, I will show you, I think by about 10 a.m., it's safe to say that all that rain is down to the south of us, and we are going to set up a dry day for the rest of the day. And the forecast is shaping up very, very nice for the remainder of your work week, even into most of your Memorial Day weekend. It's something to look forward to after we get out of all of this messy and this rowdy weather that has crowded these early morning hours. But before we get there, we still have to remain diligent to the forecast. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that most areas go without seeing any of this whatsoever. Now that I am looking at it, even some areas of breaking within this line right here where the rain gets a lot lighter in nature, up in Putnam County, around Lake Oconee, up around Eatonton. So hopefully we continue to see this line break apart, and it's more so just some clusters, it's more so just some sections of this that do have its heavy rain, your frequent lightning in nature. Now that I'm looking at it, let's go look at this real quick in northern Jones County. We did see that hail signature disappear, but this is just around the Blountsville area, moving out of Round Oak into northwest Baldwin County now. So this is going to get close to the western edge of Lake Sinclair along Highway 129, maybe Hallwood, Stanfordville, like I was saying, up there in Putnam County. No indication of anything in the way of hail. Let's check out the rotation. Just want to remain diligent with it. A lot of light green here, so it's obviously very broad. This is indicating your fair share of gusty winds kind of bowing out possibly. You do see a pretty good shape right here. This section kind of jolting out from the rest of these thunderstorms. So definitely our fair share of gusty winds, especially along Berner, Juliet, Lake Juliet, kind of along this border right here of Jasper County, Jones County, and then Monroe County right here, more so the northeastern corner. It's probably getting pretty windy and pretty gusty outside. You're just going to want to continue to remain inside, but nothing that is a severe thunderstorm warning, nothing that is a tornado warning storm whatsoever. I'm hoping that all of that continues to decrease like we have been seeing according to model runs, according to all the data that we're looking at. And most of you in our far southern corridor are just really looking at scattered showers as you're walking out the door this morning. But it is still maybe a little bit stronger than your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms. And we still see this edge of the severe thunderstorm warning holding on in Hancock County. However, it is about 4:48 right now. So I do believe that the severe impacts are pretty much done in Hancock County. We are still looking at strong thunderstorms in the northern half, more so scattered rain along Putnam County, where we are maybe seeing an indication of a break in this line. Then we go over to Jasper County, northern Jones, more so northeastern Monroe County, but still along the downtown Forsyth area, and it will be creeping into North Macon pretty soon. Some of the heavy rain that we do see around Bolingbroke, so that will be getting close to Bass Road, Arkwright Drive, Rivers Crossing, all those areas in North Macon, probably going to get fairly loud with some rainfall hitting your windows outside, hearing your scattered rumbles of thunder. Then the line is a lot thinner as it stretches back over into Alabama, across northern Upson County, parts of the southeastern Lamar County right now, and we're going to continue to see it push to these counties immediately towards the south over the next hour or so. So hopefully seeing some weakening with it, but right now no warnings to be concerned about whatsoever. And one last update to leave you with, an update from the EMA director at Butts County. One tree across a roadway on Halls Bridge Road, and the power is out on Brownlee Road in the city of Jackson. So anyone that lives in Butts County, maybe have an early wake-up call, or you just got an early wake-up call from these thunderstorms. If you do take Halls Bridge Road, there is a tree across the roadway, so probably blocking your way of traveling across that road. Going to want to find a detour early this morning to work. And we do have the power out on Brownlee Road in the city of Jackson. I imagine with these gusty winds, we will see our fair share of power outages, but I know the EMA director will be working hard with city officials to get all those problems fixed more than likely by the end of the day. It's been an early day, but hopefully conditions are clearing up already in Jackson. More so just some light rain. You'll get into sunrise soon, and hopefully the rest of the day it's just going to continue to trend dry, and it's going to be a nice Wednesday in the forecast. So that's where things stand as of right now. Again, tune in 13 WMAZ morning coming up at 5 a.m. Have about 10 minutes until that. I'm going to throw some things together to get ready for the show. All the severe warnings have come to an end right now. This warning still holds on in Hancock County, but the severe threats have moved out over towards the east, closer towards the Augusta area. So I'm going to throw some things together, and we'll be coming back to you on air at 5 a.m. for 13 WMAZ morning. Thanks for tuning in.